Okay, we're doing a sound check. I switched out mics at the request of someone who said that the other computer has, the other setup has better audio. And I think I agree. But the problem with this mic is that for some reason its volume was much lower. But I went into the audio settings and raised it up. So it's in the yellow. And if I get a little louder, it goes into the red. So we should be okay. But I want to record here. And if anybody's listening on, I believe we're just on DLive, you can certainly give any feedback. And let's take a look here. I'm also kind of curious if anybody's in Ohio, where that just on DLive monkey is. Okay, this sounds like it's loud enough. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I'm trying to improve this setup here, and I'm thinking about adding the video here. Yeah, it was like this this mic was in the green. It was way too low. And the other one didn't have this problem, and that's why I switched. But the other mic is not as good as this one. And next, I have to set up the other computer to do a video. And I'd like to use the desk mic with that one. I don't want to have to wear the headset for video if I can avoid it. But we're only live on a couple of platforms here just to do an audio check. And I'm doing the archives from yesterday. I'm about to go to the print shop and pick up some of the posters that I have prepared for the event. Or more like flyers, you could say, but they're going to be available there for the guests. And these are going to be the visual aids that I'll be using to make certain points. I need to have some kind of mind aids themed content. Like, I'm not sure what yet, but I have some ideas. You know, like CDC style stuff. Like how to prevent mind aids. You know, don't watch the TV uncritically. Don't fall asleep with the TV on, or don't let your girl. Like, there's got to be some kind of inoculation techniques that we can incorporate into this thing. Because I think personally that out of all the memes that we have proliferated, we started Face Diaper, by the way. We started COVID 1984. We started many of the great ones. But I happen to think there's an opening here for mind aids because it is such an offensive concept to those not in the know, but it is an apt description for the state of the public. And wait until they find out that the government gave them mind aids. The government gave them all mind aids. So I'm thinking this is a opportunity to reach people with a very important concept. Okay, so if the audio is good here, then we are good. I'm going to jump to the other setup shortly, and I'll be on these same channels. And I'm going to test out the desk mic and camera combination. We're getting ready for what's going to be the first of many Auto Hoax cons. And I'm trying to get the 24/7 back up. I just don't have a lot of time. It'd be nice if I had a DJ, a remote DJ that could do 24/7 archives, music. And I'm not saying sit in front of the screen. I just mean somebody to make sure that it's on. Because when I'm not in the office, I can't monitor it. And apparently Odyssey goes offline a lot. But I might find some remote help so we can get the 24/7 up, because that's just 24 advertising. We need advertising around the clock, 24/7, to promote this. To promote not this channel specifically, but what we're creating here. And yesterday, Fakeologist agreed to show up at AutoHoaxCon, and if he can't make it, it's a Saturday, we may actually do a pre-recorded segment where I'm going to interview him from the perspective of kind of a noob. Like, I want to ask Fakeologist questions to introduce him to people who have never heard of it. He's a great exponent of this concept, and between him, myself, John the Bon, and a few others I could name, it just depends on who will talk. You know, I mean, Miles Mathis is brilliant in this. it'd be nice to get him involved. I could certainly get, and I'm going to reach out to him, Jim Fetzer. Now, he's not a pure auto hoaxer. He has his weak spots, blind spots, as many people who are fully entrenched in alt media are or have, and that's because of who they're around. Show me the 5 people you hang around with most, and I'll mostly be able to tell you what box you're in. And I'm not trying to change anybody's minds, but we have to realize that he's got immense understanding and knowledge of certain aspects. And he was on Fakeologist, and I was very impressed with his answers because he takes the position that, well, I don't know enough to judge. Like, he is a true skeptic. And so we would be remiss if we didn't involve him in AutoHoaxCon because, he did put out a lot of great content. He has put out a lot of great stuff. My main issue with it is the terminology and the blinkered understanding. It's faker. Everything is faker than the truthers know. And truthers have been inundated with false explanations to hide the fakery. One of the big ones is this distraction into New Ageism. And I think the Matrix, look at how the Matrix seems to have been target marketed at truthers. And it seems like one of the things they have done is they've inculcated them with this notion that to see through the news is to see through reality, is to see it's all a simulation. And they take some comfort in knowing they've ascended this peak. And that's obviously a hoax. Simulation theory is a hoax. And you might argue from the perspective of a transcendent mystic that you've seen it all, and I'm going to say, prove it. I think that it's important to recognize that question marks are far more valuable than low information beliefs. Let's Go says, try magic for overseas virtual assistants. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm just looking also at the possibility of AI or even macros having some capability here. Because what I would like ideally, though, would be to have the 24/7 stream with new content all the time, going back years, which is easy to do. But I don't have internet at the place where I sleep. So I have to do everything while I'm here in the office. And sometimes I have to slay a few dragons to get over here. But I'm thinking, if I can get somebody trained on Radio King, we could probably make it happen. And I'm looking for possibly a VJ or a DJ. It'll be easier to find help like that after this first AutoHoaxCon when we open up the doors for press pass carriers to be more involved, especially when it comes to the distribution of the Insider, which I have the first issue. I'm just in the process of formatting it, and I will be ordering copies, mostly a couple demo copies, but then I'm going to have a truncated free version to be distributed like Jehovah's Witnesses literature, like JW stuff. So if you're at all interested in distribution, if you're a press pass carrier and you know a place where they distribute free literature, you would be perfect for this. All you'd have to do is every time there's an issue out, you get a stack from me, distribute them at will. Because the concept with freemium, with the shortened version, is that it gives enough for the person to want to keep it. It has the art, it has the downloadable content with the QR codes, it has entertainment and information that's valuable. But also, if they want the full version, it's just a click away. And I think that there'll be a high turnover, that every one of these free versions will stick around. Because unlike regular newspapers that are disposable, good tabloids that aren't always topical, like Weekly World News, they're evergreen. You can read National Enquirer from 2 months ago and it's done. It's boring, expired propaganda. But you look at Weekly World News, which is out of print, and I have some old copies, and they're just as good now as when they were written because they're not tied to the news cycle. And the news cycle is one of the biggest hoaxes. We often talk about the frame of reference, how the worldview is a product of what is omitted as much as what they focus on, actually more so by what they omit. But additionally, there's this time control they exert when they say, this is relevant now. This is relevant now. Nothing else is. And by controlling the now, they define the worldview in to a great degree by defining what is critically important right now. And what they exclude, of course, is a huge part of the picture that everybody misses. And that's a weakness and a flaw. And it's part of the structure because they want people to automatically go with whatever is being promulgated because they don't have enough time to fact check it. So you're up to date, breaking news, the most informed. It's like, no, if you're keeping up with the breaking news and you retweet everything that's breaking because you think you're cutting edge, you're actually not. You can't be cutting edge following breaking news because the news is pre-written. To truly be cutting edge, you have to step outside of their cycle. And that's where suspension comes into this thing. Suspension of judgment. The skeptic's approach. It is basically nothing more than waiting to agree, waiting to give your consent to something. So what we're doing is we're taking back control over our time and our sense of urgency. Like, you notice I'm not digging a bunker because I'm not expecting World War III. My priorities haven't shifted. I have no belief whatsoever about the impending doom of the world. I don't think we're running out of people. I'm not rushing to encourage other people to have babies because we're running out, because that's a big trend among especially childless right-wingers, telling people to have a bunch of babies because we're running out. But according to the left, there's not enough people. But anyway, I'm not running around puppeteered by various agendas whatsoever. I'm implacable. I'm not going to vote except for, or I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris, but it's a joke. It's a joke vote because votes are a joke on you. It's a steam valve. It's like, let the patients run around once in a while, pretend like they have some control. Let them riot in the street, which is the equivalent of mental patients fighting the orderlies. Yeah, you can fight the orderlies. They're stronger. They outnumber you. And at the end of the day or night, you're going back to your cell. And the cell is in your mind, of course. You're not off the grid if you're out in the woods foraging. You're not off the grid if you're in your bunker. You're only off the grid if you're auto-hoaxing. It's literally that. You can't be off the grid until you've been mentally deprogrammed. And this is a truism, I think. It has to do with deprogramming in general, not just from media or dangerous cults, but from interpersonal relationships. There's an extrication process that involves separating oneself from someone else's filter or another company's filter and its priorities. Are your priorities the same as the priorities of the MSM, which is nothing but doom and gloom and agitation? It shouldn't be. And this is why the majority of truthers think I'm a terrible person. They get triggered by what I say because they're like triggered, ready to go to war, ready to fight the government, ready to run for the hills, ready for the big one. And they want to be the one to get the breaking news first, to say I told you so as it all comes down. And I'm like, nothing to worry about. You can be in your bunker and I'll be having a picnic. You can be hoarding ammunition and I'll be microwaving some popcorn because I know it's all fake. And when I say all fake, what I mean is news presents a version of reality that's prefabricated. So spoiler alert, the world's not going to end before the election. And just look at the agitators out there, and I don't even have to name them. If they are a truth or conspiracy theorist, they are looking directly into the camera, warning you about threats and dangers, things that don't exist. It's a sales pitch for a dystopian worldview, and they have all the cures. Like, don't drink the water. Here's my water filter. Don't breathe the air. Here's my mask. It's problem, reaction, solution, and it's a huge grift. It's doom. It's fire and brimstone is what it really is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, by the way, there's a caller, Leo Pirate. He called about the Mormon church the other day and how it's compatible with the modern space age. He clipped that particular call and put it on its own video, so I'm going to put a link below. if you want to comment or subscribe to his channel. Okay, thank you for participating in this sound check. I'm going to hop onto the other computer and set up the desk mic next. But we'll be live later on. I'm doing the archives. Quite a lot happening, though. It's good to know that we have Fakeologists on board for AutoHoaxCon. And if you know anybody, and I think there's a recommendation someone sent me already, but if you know anybody else who may want to appear remotely, pre-recorded or not, to present their version of things as they are, from a skeptic's perspective, media, deconstructionist, whatever it happens to be, I'm happy to have them make an appearance. And we're also open to debates. So if you know anybody willing to debate chemtrails, Mandela effects, space lasers, false flags, it's all fair game. I will open up the floors for that. And another aspect to it, of course, is going to be the Q&A. Q&A is going to be big. I think it'll be a great opportunity because this is a way to reach out. We're not echo chambering this at all. We're moving into the phase where it's accessible to anyone. That's why I'm describing this first event as a planet killer asteroid hitting the world stage. The initial impact may not be felt by everybody, but the fallout will be, or at least it'll be transmissible. It won't be too laden with jargon. It won't require too much of a background in what we're looking at here. What Fakeologist calls fakeology. I mean, it's a huge blind spot, but I think we can open the door. We have to get people to understand that they're smarter than the media thinks they are. All right, so I will be on the other computer. Thanks for the sound check here. And I'll be live this evening.